Hey everybody, Thrift Store Hacker back again, and today I'm building with the extra batteries that I have lying around a small 7S 3P battery pack, which is one row of batteries less than the ones that the one I built for the e-bike already. And I'm going to build it just using wire and solder. Soldering 18650 batteries is kind of tedious, but let me show you what I've learned and how I'm going to put all these packs together. So what I'm going to need is 7 packs of 3 batteries like this. And the easiest way I've figured out how to make these batteries go together is to take a piece of wire, trim off that much wire there, keep this on the end, have this little piece on the end here. Don't strip it all the way off because it'll help keep the strands of wire together until you solder it. And once you get the pack together, these won't be arcing against anything you set on the table. We're going to put it right across there like that. Now to prep these for soldering, so you can get a good, you can see I screwed up that battery, but you can get a good adhesion to the metal of the battery. What I've been doing is I take my Dremel here and I just Dremel across the top here and across the bottom and kind of just make it rough enough that the solder is going to stick to. That little wheel on my Dremel seems to work pretty good, but you can see I kind of scored it up a bit. Got some clean metal right there. And then to do these, which I would normally probably just solder these on the thing, but look at the tip of my soldering iron. It just snapped off today. So I guess it's time to order another tip. Anyway, to solder these on, I've learned if you get a good solder blob on top of this first, and you're going to want to heat this up pretty good because you're going to need to get this surface hot, but not hot enough that it's going to damage the battery. But you want it hot enough that the solder is going to stick. So what I'll do is I'll solder a blob on top of this, and I'll get that blob pretty hot with the tip of the soldering iron. And when you got the tip of the soldering iron and the blob, it's going to heat up the blob. It's going to heat it up a lot slower than the tip would heat up, but it's going to heat up the blob and it's going to heat up in here. And since there's flux inside this wire, it'll adhere to that and work pretty good. And you'll get a really good adhesion on there. So after I get all of these packs together, and it looks like that, and then we'll have a red wire, well, that's the negative side. We'll have a red wire down this side. We have 7 of these little packs, and all we have to do is tie them together. Now, the best thing about that is once this is soldered on, just heat this up a little bit with a lighter, and then this little short length of plastic here will slide right off really easy. Now, after we get all that put together and everything's looking pretty good, we can put it into a battery pack like this. Let me take this apart a little here to show you. As you can see, I have these packs of 3 soldered in here with the wires. Now, if you want to see how to set up the BMS, because I have the same little BMS, it has the same wiring because it's a 7S pack, check out one of my previous videos on when I did the BMS wiring for the electric bike. Now, the box that I got is an old cell phone box. And, you probably keep these lying around for a little bit after you get a new cell phone. They're really good quality containers to put projects in. As you can see in between the cells here, because I'm worried about anything arcing out or shorting out, I put strips of cardboard in between each one of these cell packs here, and it'll keep them nice and separated. But as you can see on the side here, my shoddy soldering job, we have the negative wire, the main negative wire here, and then it goes to the positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. And then we have the wire going out to the battery there. Of course, the negative line goes into the BMS. BMS does its BMS magic. So these batteries are not the greatest batteries in the world. The pack that I made, which is a really good pack, that 4P pack that I made, was all the good batteries in the stack. And this is what I had left over that were kind of, 70% life and up. I tried to choose the best cells to do this. I have a few of these cells and stuff, but like these are so old and like there's not even a manufacturer label or anything on them. So I kind of pick and chose the best cells that I could to put in this pack. But what I'm going to do with this pack is, since this is an old cell phone box, it's got a lid. We put the lid on it. Tape all this together, have the two wires coming out the side here. And I'm going to keep this in the ammo box, and it's going to be like a reserve tank, spare tank of gas. So I got the box sitting out front, the top of the box sitting out front right now. I put some paint on it to make it look better. But I was just amazed that this cell phone box worked out perfectly. It's a very rigid cardboard box. As you can see, everything is super insulated. I got extra cardboard all over the place, and just try to make it as safe as possible with these kind of not that safe cells to be using. But we're going to put the top on the box. We're going to throw this in the bike's ammo box as a spare tank. And I'm going to take it out, go on a run, and we're going to see, if this can handle 10 amp draw, because the batteries still not that great of batteries. May or may not do that, and I might have to add extra cells to the packs. Just depends on if all of these have the same amp hour capacity or are at least close. With the 4P pack, I did the same thing. They were a lot better batteries, as I was saying, but hopefully the storage capacities on these line up as well as the last setup did. So upon the first test with it on the e-bike, I had a bit of a problem with the 7S3P soldered pack. I found that two of my batteries in one of the 3-pack cells two of the batteries had bad solder connections going from the wires to the tops of the batteries. The way I figured this out is I hooked everything up, and initially I just put a voltmeter to the end of this, and yeah, it had the proper voltage. It was plenty full. And then I went across the top of the box and checked each cell pack, and they had the proper voltage in them. So it's like, it must be one or two cells in one of these rows that is bad, but one is already connected, so it's still giving me the full voltage. So what I did is I built this rig to put it under a load. I have this 19.2 volt drill motor, the PWM, the variable controller, and then I have my amp meter here. Now, when I put this together and initially tested it, I turned this on, and the pack would just go out. The BMS would shut it off at around 5 amps. So what I did is I connected my voltmeter on each one of these and powered this up to the point where just before the BMS would shut it off. And as I went across, I had full voltage on a bunch of the packs, but one of them, there was quite a voltage dip, and it was because only one battery was operating on the rest of the system, and the other two were poorly connected. So what I did is I just pulled the pack apart, resoldered the leads back on, and now I can turn this on and demand a lot of amperage from it, and it doesn't crap out on me. They pulled just about 8 amps there. And that's perfect. Everything's working perfect now. And we can put it back on the bike and continue the test. To connect this up, I ran some wires down to the ammo box. Then I ran it up to here with a couple of spade connectors. So I don't even have to take the battery out of the box. I could just hook up the cables down there, and when I need to swap over from the full regular battery box to the reserve tank, all I do is connect these connectors up to the battery leads on the controller, and I'm ready to go. So I hooked up the reserve pack here, ran and got some groceries. Did about 2.25 miles round trip, but it still had plenty of power in it. I'm estimating this will probably go about 3.5, if I'm lucky, maybe 4 miles. So it'll work as a pretty good little reserve tank. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, build stuff and have fun.